thank the gentlelady from Minnesota for yielding time. I rise in opposition to the previous question so we can amend the rule to immediately consider Protecting America's Strategic Petroleum Reserve from China Act, H.R. 8488. This bill was introduced by Ranking Member Rogers and myself, and it's simple. It would prohibit the Department of Energy from sending America's emergency oil reserves, known as the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, to China. Now, the Democrats are in denial about why their constituents are paying so much at the pump for gas and diesel fuel. It's directly a result of the Biden administration and Democrat policies that began the day that Joe Biden was sworn in as the President of the United States. He has a war on oil and gas industry. Our domestic production and refining capacity has declined by more than 1 million barrels per day since President Trump was in office. You know, Americans know what they were paying for gas in January of 2021. They know what they're paying for gas today. They know they had more money in their pocket to spend on things for their family. They know they're having to make decisions now about their travel. It's affecting their cost to go to work, to take their kids to school, or to go to their place of worship. Energy prices have surged past historic records. People have been forced to pay more than $6 per gallon in some regions of the country. And President Biden and the Democrats are looking for cover. He's looking to distract the American voters from the painful realities of his anti-fossil fuel agenda by releasing an unprecedented 260 million barrels of oil from the SPR, or the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. And releasing this oil is doing nothing really to do more than a blip for gasoline prices. Seems like the White House and Democrats are taking victory laps over a temporary decrease in the price of gasoline. It's because Americans are on vacation. They're not driving as much. They're staying home, staycations. They're not using as much. It's a supply and demand issue. But it's also a cause and effect issue. The cause is the Biden administration Democrat policies against fossil fuels, because they have some sort of utopian ideal that Americans are just going to, let's see, in the words of Secretary Granholm, transition to electric vehicles. And let me be clear, I like electric vehicles. I think they ought to be a part of the mix. In fact, more electrical vehicles on the road mean less emissions and better air quality. But instead of forcing it, why not let the free market work? Why not let the free market come up with alternatives and more cost-effective modes of transportation for Americans versus government policies trying to push this utopian ideal? It's not the solution to the energy crisis Americans facing today, and releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve is not the answer either. In fact, the Biden administration is releasing more than 1 million barrels per day, but it really has nowhere to go because our refineries are at capacity. Our pipelines are full. As a result, Americans' emergency reserves are being sent to China, which is using it to build up its own strategic petroleum reserves. The irony is that when prices plummeted at the onset of COVID, President Trump's Department of Energy, he wanted to buy oil and fill up the SPR. Democrats opposed that. Let's see, buy low, sell high. Oil was really cheap. President Trump wanted to fill up the SPR. Now that oil's real high, this president wants to release it, give it to China. We're going to have to replace it, or we're going to replace it at a high price. The other irony is that this isn't about fossil fuels, because President Biden traveled 11,000 miles round trip to Saudi Arabia to beg the Saudis for oil. He didn't beg them for batteries for electric cars. He begged them for oil, which is going to be refined into the transportation fuels that we use. I've got an idea for President Biden and for Democrats. How about embrace American energy production? How about President Biden travel down to Port Fourchon, Louisiana, or to Midland, Texas, and talk to American energy producers and ask them the question, how can we meet the domestic demand that we have here in this country? How can we, with American energy production, lower the cost for moms and dads, American families here at home by American production, providing American jobs, producing American resources? We've been blessed in this country with abundant resources in oil and gas. Unfortunately, we've been cursed by liberal politicians.
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Speaker, I yield an additional minute.
Gentleman is recognized for 1 minute.
We've been cursed by liberal politicians who want to take those abundant resources off the table and continue to hurt American families who are trying to fill up their car just to travel to work and to school and to church. We need to replace this PQ, and we need to stop selling or giving or whatever oil to China, an adversary, and we need to focus on domestic energy production. So I urge a no vote on the previous question so the House can immediately consider this important bill. I urge my colleagues to vote for this, against this previous question, for the replacement, and with that, I yield back.